I welcome you guys. I welcome you all in the DAF discussion session of Analyst IAS. Here we have Mr. Nitin Shivhare with us. He is founder and director of Analyst IAS and Shri Amol Srivastava sir. He is IAS officer of 2018 batch. Good morning, sirs. So we will be starting with Shri Nitin Shivhare. Please, sir.
So thank you, Rohan. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to conduct this session, and I will be saying first of all to begin with that congratulations you guys that you have cleared this exam and will be appearing for the interview soon. It is very important to fill the DAF in very apt format for the preferences that you give and the justification that may be asked in the real interview. And there will be many mock sessions that we will be having before the actual interview that you appear in. And we have with us Mr. Amol, who is an IAS and has gone through this process and is also engaged into the academic activities, being a faculty and teacher. So a teacher is always needed at every process and every step. So Amol, welcome to this session, and say something to enlighten the viewers so that they are benefited by the experience of yours that you have gathered so far.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, Mr. Rohan, and the team Analyst IAS for inviting me here. This is a very important session because it's pertaining to the last and the most important part of this process, and I congratulate all the candidates who have cleared the second stage, and now they are ready for their final stage. And those who could not clear, my best wishes to them. Please don't lose hope. Keep working hard. The people who have cleared, they have also worked really hard, and without hard work, it's very difficult to go ahead. The only thing that we have to keep in mind that we have to keep on striving and keep on doing the best from our side, so that whenever the opportunity strikes, we are able to make the best out of that opportunity. So today we'll be discussing most important things about how to fill the DAF, the importance of DAF, and how to use DAF to the best use in your interview process. So in this today's session, we have divided the session into 3-4 parts. So first, I'll just brief you about the process of the interview. I'm sure you all will be very eager to know what happens once you enter the UPSC Bhavan and what all the process, so that at least you have some mental preparedness regarding what is going to happen inside, which will definitely make you feel comfortable. Secondly, I'll talk about some of the key points that we have to keep in mind while we are filling up the DAF. Third, I'll talk about the different parts of the DAF, how you have to fill and what all things you have to keep in mind while filling the DAF, so that you are able to use your DAF, and when the DAF comes in front of the board members, they know exactly how it has to be used for the interview, and you also know, and you can also expect what kind of questions they might ask. Then we'll talk about the service preference, cadre preference, and then in the discussions only we'll talk about how to use the DAF to prepare for your interview. You must have heard, or you must have noticed that DAF is one of the most important parts of the interview, and sometimes your 70 to 80% of the interview revolves around your DAF. So it's very important that we prepare our DAF really well. So I think we shall start. So first I'll talk about the process of the interview. So now you have already cleared mains, which was conducted in across the country. Interview will be conducted in Delhi in UPSC Bhavan. So interview is conducted in two sessions. One is the morning session and one is the evening session. When your schedule comes, it will be clearly mentioned. Are you in the morning session or in the evening session? Whatever session may be, I don't think there is any difference. It's important that you reach well within time, so that last minute hurry and those anxiety you don't have to face once you reach the UPSC Bhavan. You should be comfortable, calm once you have arrived at the UPSC Bhavan. Initially, you are made to wait outside the gate uh, till the time the entry opens. After that, once you are allowed to enter, you have to deposit your phones in a room, so you can definitely carry your phones. And then after you deposit your phones, then you proceed to another room where your documents are verified. Whatever documents you have mentioned in your form, like your college education degree, your high school, your class 12th mark sheet, if you have any category certificate, that will be verified. Then once that verification process is over, then you are taken to a waiting lounge where there are many round tables kept, and all the candidates will be sitting there waiting for their turn for the interview. There are around 7 to 8 panels. It depends on the number of UPSC members who are taking the interview. So depending upon that, the tables will be allocated, but you will not know which panel you have been allotted. And the panel members, the board members, are completely randomized. The candidate is also randomized and sent to different panels. So it's very difficult, or there is no point of thinking or knowing which panel you will get or how you will get that panel. It's just a futile effort. Don't waste your time in thinking all those things. Till the time you reach your interview room, you won't be able to know which panel is it. Now, some people, while preparing for the interview, they prepare some questions based on the chairman of the board. They read the profile of all the UPSC board members, and they have their preconceived notions that if if we get such board on similar topics, questions will be asked. For example, if there is an IFS officer in the board and you get that board, so you have a preconceived notion that most of the questions will be on international relations and foreign policy. Or some person from defense background has come, then most questions will be from the security or the defense or border management point of view. I would say that this is not the right way to approach the interview. It's good to know about the UPSC members, but it's not good to prepare according to their background for two reasons. Number one, even though the board chairman is from a particular background, the board members can be from any background. There are around 5 to 6 members, and they can be academicians, they can be scholars, they can be officers, they can be ex-bureaucrats. So you never know how the composition of your panel will be. So it's not good that you prepare according to the background of the board member, the board chairman. So secondly, all these board members, the UPSC members, they have a very vast experience in public life, and they have worked in different departments. They have worked in different areas, different in different ways. They have contributed to the nation. So they can ask any question from any field. So you should not feel that why are they asking from some other aspect and not from their own background. We are just newcomers in the public life. They have spent 30-35 years, so their experience and knowledge is way beyond what we can imagine. And if you prepare in that way, then the problem is the moment you stand outside the room and you get to know, okay, you have got the panel is from the panel chairman is from security background or from defense services or from foreign services, then whatever preparation you have done so far, you just forget about that and just keep on thinking about foreign policy matters or security issues, and they may not even ask you a question about that. So if I give you my example, I have given two UPSC interviews. In one interview, the honorable chairperson was an ex chairman of the railway board, and in the next uh, interview, the honorable chairperson was from Indian Air Force. And in none of my interviews, the questions were asked from their background. So I was not even asked a single question from railways. And in the second interview, when the honorable chairperson was from the Air Force, I was not even asked a question from the security angle. The whole discussion went with him around agriculture and related issues. So just forget about those things. Prepare on your strengths and just go in the interview with an open mind. And whatever questions are asked, just give a balanced, rational, and a neutral answer to show your suitability for the job. Now we'll come to some key points that you have to keep in mind while filling your DAF. So see, this is a DAF. DAF means detailed application form. Now it has to be differentiated from other kinds of application form. You must have submitted an application form for the prelims also, but that you can say it's a passive form that you have filled in all the details. It goes to UPSC. Then they just take out the data and give your admit card and keep all the other data in the record. But this DAF is an active form. Why? Because whatever you fill will be used to ask questions from you. And when your DAF is complete, a PDF will be generated and that copy will be given to all the panel members, and based on that they will ask questions from you. So even before you enter the interview room, the panel members would have read that DAF and they would have made a mental map of your personality. Okay, so this DAF is very important and it's completely different as compared to what application forms you submit for the first stage of the examination. Now, for the same reason, this DAF should be a reflection of your personality. How you fill the DAF, what you fill in the DAF should show what kind of person you are and are you suitable for the job or not. And whatever details you have mentioned in the DAF, it should reflect in you also. Okay, so for example, if you say that I am a sports person and or I am into public speaking, but when you enter the room, your physique or your way of walking or your body language should show that you are a sports person. Or when you open your mouth and you speak to the panel members, the confidence that you exhibit should show that you are actually into public speaking and you are not lying. So this is a very important thing. There should not be a mismatch between what you have written in the DAF and what the kind of person you are when they see you. One small thing, which is another example for what I have mentioned, is there should be no spelling mistake or grammatical mistake while you are filling the DAF. Because even though there are no marks that will be deducted for writing wrong spelling for anything, but it shows your careless attitude or your non-serious behavior towards this exam, and which can cost you a lot. So keep this thing in mind. Then the next point is that the DAF, if you see some previous year DAF also, it will come in capital letter, even though in the form you will be filling in small letter, but the final DAF that comes out, everything is filled in capital letter. So if you fill in too many details, it becomes very cluttered and it's very difficult to pick out details and ask questions from them. So just make sure that you don't add so many details that the DAF becomes too cluttered. Keep it simple and short, which will help the examiner in reading with the DAF easily and asking the questions without getting irritated as if what all you have filled in the DAF. Also, when you are filling the DAF and you're mentioning your achievements or you're mentioning about something, please don't express any bias towards any community or any political party. Just stick to the facts. In your college or before appearing for the exam, you may be involved with some communities or with some political parties and you may have worked with them. But I would say that it's preferable not to write all those things, because one of the main pillars of bureaucracy is neutrality and anonymity. So there, it's good not to mention these affiliations. Also, it's a very no, it's a trick for the interview that do not disclose all the details in your DAF. Sometimes we feel if they have asked something, we will write each and every detail possible, or will disclose each and every information that is available. Now you yourself imagine that if you write each and everything in the DAF, then there will be no room to ask questions. There will be no scope to ask any question. And as I mentioned that around 70% of your interview may revolve around the DAF. So if you have mentioned all the details and there is nothing left for the interviewer to ask, then they may not ask anything from your DAF. So despite we prepare the DAF really well and we know each and everything, we should always leave some scope to ask questions, so that when they ask the questions, we know what kind of questions will come up and we are able to answer them properly. So these are few things that you should keep in mind while filling the DAF. Now, let us come to the important parts of the DAF and how we are going to fill those things one by one. So when you see the DAF, it will be in a portal format. Since I don't have access to the portal now, I have a DAF with me and how the final DAF looks. So your photo and some of the obvious details will be auto-filled. So from your pre and mains time, so your name, your photograph, your optional subject, all those things will be pre-filled. Some things you will have to fill again. So some things about your personal background. So personal details like your address, your parents' address, your birthplace, then your parents' professional background. All these things will be filled up. Just keep that in mind that you will not be judged on these things. Okay, so your background, your income details, your parents' income details. UPSC members are so they are non-judgmental. They won't all these personal details. Please make sure that there is no mistake or there is no spelling mistake or no factual mistake in your details. Suppose you have mentioned the city of one state and state you have mentioned some other place. These things should not come, because again, by the fact of it, they won't judge you, but the kind of mistake that you make while filling the DAF, they might judge you that this person is non-serious and this is quite careless. How can you write such things? Okay, so keep these things in mind. Secondly, when we write our parents' professional details, sometimes we write that they have been working in banks like SBI or some PSU, or if somebody comes from farming background, they'll write agriculture or farming. So even though you are not from that background, but your parents are from banking or say PSU or agriculture, as I mentioned, or say law, then you need to have some idea about their profession also, because you have been staying with them from quite some time. So have some idea about what your parents have been doing, the kind of the job that they are into, the challenges, the pros and cons of that sector. Similarly, as I mentioned, say your father or mother is working in SBI. So out of nowhere, they might ask a question on banking sector in India, or banking reforms, or some recent changes that are happening in banking sector. So whatever is mentioned in your DAF is a point of question, even though it may not be directly related to you. But if you have mentioned it in the DAF, then it can be a point of question. Similarly, suppose we have mentioned about your education background and you have studied in 2-3 schools, and by coincidence, the name of your school or name of your college is based on a famous personality, say Shahid Bhagat Singh or Mother Teresa or Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So even though your optional or your subjects may not have any relation to them, but still you need to know about them, those personalities, their contribution uh, towards our nation, and their philosophy and similar things. So there you cannot say that even though I'm studying in Shahid Bhagat Singh College and my optional is psychology, so still questions can be asked from history. So keep those things in mind. Or even though you have a technical bag optional like mechanical engineering or civil engineering, but still questions can be asked on philosophy if that particular name or that particular organization appears in your DAF. So don't get panicked there that how can they ask such a questions. They can ask anything from your DAF. Similarly, they can ask questions on your state. Your home state, we are going to definitely discuss about it. I'm saying that suppose you have studied in a city and that city has certain historical importance, then you should definitely have an idea about that. So these are the few things. Your mother tongue, you have to write, then place of birth, your father's details, your mother's details, your address, and then comes your educational qualification where you have to fill about your class 10th, class 12th, your graduation, your post graduation. Then if you are higher education qualifications, post graduation and equivalent examinations, then you have to write about your home state. So now some people have who have stayed in different places, they have doubts about home state. So home state you can claim on your own based on how you consider yourself associated to that state, and if you have any family background there or something, then you can claim that your home state, and it will be treated while you are filling your cadre preference. Then it comes to particulars about achievements in prizes, medals, scholarships. Then if you have done some exceptional work in sports, NCC, then if you have positions of distinction in or leadership in your school and college, and then some other extracurricular activities. So we'll discuss about all these things one by one. So now first let's come to hobbies. Hobbies is one of the most confusing as well as sensitive aspect when we come to fill the DAF. So first thing is, please do not fake. Even everybody knows that since we are studying and UPSC preparation also takes a lot of time. So we may or may not have those traditional hobbies that some people may have. Okay. And it's nothing wrong about it. But it's good that you don't fake anything. Interviews is still, your interview might be 2 to 3 months away. So in that case, you develop some hobby. You may even if you are not having a specific hobby, you may have some certain interests. Okay. So once you have those interests, then you can develop upon them, and then you can mention it now, and then you can develop those interests till the time of your interview. So even if you have a general idea about those hobbies and you have done something in the 1 or 2 months, that will also count, and you will be able to answer in a decent way. So there you will not be given marks based on what hobby you have. It's not something like they will give more marks for reading as a hobby, but they will not give marks for gardening as a hobby. So as I told you, UPSC members are not judgmental, so they will not give you any marks on, or they will not rank your hobbies to give marks, but they will just understand from the hobbies that you have mentioned what kind of person you are, and are you actually involved in those hobbies, and how those hobbies have helped you in becoming a better individual or helped you in having a better quality of your life. That is the only thing. So there I would say answering questions with respect to your hobby are more important than the hobby itself. So even if you don't have a hobby, or if you feel that your hobby may not be in a may not be, you may not consider your hobby worthy enough, but that has no role to play in UPSC. There, if you are interested in something, if you have something something as your hobby, and they ask a question, then it's absolutely fine. If you can just answer those questions, and you can prove that yes, you are genuinely interested in that, it's absolutely fine. But don't lie that you have done this, you have done that in your hobby, and because it will be easily caught. They have worked 30-35 years in public service. They have met so many people. They have dealt so many issues that your a small lie of your hobby can be easily caught. And it's not about lying. It's more about that you have put your integrity at stake just to answer one question on hobby. So that is more important. UPSC is looking for people who are honest and who have the quality of integrity. So having your integrity and honesty is way, way, way important than having a hobby. So just don't panic too much on having a hobby. Just think of something that you are interested in, mention that, and in the next 1 or 2 months, try and develop that. Or if you have a hobby, just know more about it. Just simple things about the hobby may not give you an edge. So suppose you practice yoga. So many people practice yoga. Some people do it for spiritual reasons. Some people do for physical health. But if you are actually involved in yoga, then you should know about the academics of yoga also, apart from the physical practicality also. How did yoga evolve? What are the different categories of yoga? How yoga and the asanas are related, and what is their significance, and all those things. Similarly, if you are interested in some sports, know more about that sports rather than just playing. See, you can know the different world records that are there in the sports, or different tournaments that are being held, or any recent tournament which was held, India's uh, performance in that tournament, in that particular sport. So you should have a comprehensive interest in all these subjects. So that you have to keep in mind. Now coming to achievements, where it's written prizes, medals, scholarships. So in that, I would say that mention those achievements which are reflected in your personality, because even the UPSC members may not have so much of time to ask questions from each and everything that we have mentioned in the DAF. So you mention those things which you feel that they are there, they are reflected in your personality, and you want to be answered, you want to be questioned on those things. Whatever you mentioned in your achievements, they will not ask any certificates. So even if you have won some first prize or gold medal in somewhere, they will not ask for any certificates. The only certificate that you have is you. So if you have mentioned that you have got a gold medal, then they might ask you some questions and you will have to answer them. If you don't answer them properly, then it will be doubtful that you have actually achieved that gold medal or not. Secondly, mention those things which you feel that are worthy to be put in that limited space. I have seen many people filling up DAFs and they are writing that they were class monitor in standard 5 or standard 6, or they were house captain in standard 8th. So even though at that point of time they were quite a good achievement for all of us, but once you have that limited scope of 2 to 3 lines, do you think it is actually worthy to be mentioned there? Also, suppose you have won a gold medal at the national level recently in your college, and you are writing about being the class monitor in standard 5 in the same column. So don't you think that the bigger achievement that you have, the recent one at the national level, will get undermined by writing the other achievement? So just keep these things in mind, how the way you write balanced answer in mains. Similarly, the DAF also has to be filled in a balanced manner. So Make a list of all the achievements that you have. Choose the achievements which you feel that you can write and you want the panel members to question you. Similarly, when you mention about your achievements, it is my suggestion that you mention just one or at max two achievements in a single category. And it is because I have mentioned that the DAF will get cluttered. So I'll give you an example. Suppose you are a national level sports person or a national level a dance performer, say in some classical form of dance or music. So it's quite obvious that right from your school till the time you are giving the UPSC exam interview, you may have got so many medals, you may have got so many certificates, so many achievements, so many awards and recognition in that particular field. Now, if you start mentioning all those things and listing all those things, that in class 10th you won the dance competition in your school, then you became a member of the dance club of your college and won interstate competition, dance competition from your college, then you got some scholarship in dance or music from some university or from some government. So these are just one category. So you will not be given marks on number of achievements or number of medals that you have in a particular category, but it will unnecessarily clutter your DAF and it will remove the scope of mentioning some other achievements. Even though you are a national level sports person or a dancer or a musician, but at the same time you may have some achievements in some other categories also, say public speaking or some academics or some competition that you, some hackathon or any other technical competition that you took part in your college. So your achievement section should be it's a good mix of all the categories. So just keep that thing in mind. As I mentioned, they are not going to give you marks on number of achievements that you have, but maybe the kind of well-rounded personality you have. Also, they would want to know what all things you have done because they want some scope to ask questions. If you just mention just one thing in your achievements and say 10 category or 10 achievements in just one category, then they may not ask even a single question if they are not interested in that category. But if you mention some achievements in like in extracurricular activities, cultural activities like dance, music, some achievements in sports, some achievement in academic, some achievement in technical, then it will be a good mix and they will have a lot of scope to ask questions. Again, as I mentioned, don't mention each and everything about your achievements. Suppose you have got some scholarship from the government of India. Don't mention everything about that scholarship. Just mention it briefly so that the message is conveyed. Now let them ask questions. Because if they ask question on that scholarship, there's 99.9% chance that you will be able to answer each and every question about that because you have personally experienced that thing as compared to any other question which you may not have much idea upon. So as I mentioned in the beginning, always do not disclose all the things, always leave some scope for questions because that is how you navigate an interview. Sometimes people ask that how to navigate the interview. This is one of the way of navigating interview, that you leave some scope of asking questions so that you can expect a certain kind of questions coming from a particular category. Then let's come to the next part of the DAF. Okay, before coming to that, one part which I want to mention is the extracurricular activities and the co-curricular activities. So extracurricular activities are the ones which are beyond your academic background. Say, as I mentioned, dance, music, fine arts, and other things. Co-curricular activities are the ones which are part of your academics, but little bit different from the normal curriculum. That is why it's co-curricular. Say you are studying a particular field and whatever marks you get, it's a part of your curriculum, but the co-curricular will become the projects that you have done, or papers that you have submitted uh, in that field, or any no, the technical workshop that you have attended, or any workshop that you have given. Those things will come under co-curricular activities. So just keep this difference in mind. Now we'll come to service preference and cadre preference. So see, this service preference and cadre preference, it's too personal. I mean, all the candidates who are appearing for the exam, they will have a different idea about what kind of service they want, or on at which location they would prefer to work. And 99% of the times things are not in our hands also, because we don't know what marks are we going to get, what rank are we going to get. Even after getting the service, if you get into IAS or IPS, then what cadre will be getting. It may not be as per our liking, but it is dependent on the preference that we give. So in a general way, I would say that there's nothing good and bad about any service or any cadre. It lot of things depends upon the time, circumstances, the kind of officer you are. But yes, there are certain technical things about each and every service which you should study on your own and decide what kind of service you want to work for. Say the most preferred service as per the last experience is IAS, but other services, they also have very important role in the Indian bureaucracy, and everybody has every service has a very significant role in that domain they are working. Some services are related to accounts. There are 4 or 5 services which are related to accounts and finances. Some services are related to security. So just think and research about all these services, which services you want to work, and which your career goals, and which services are going to help you achieve your service goals. So keep those things in mind. Similarly, with the cadre preference, again, cadre preference is available only for IAS and IPS. So in that also, I would say you are applying for an all India service. So we should be open to work in any part of the country, but at the same time, we all have preferences. So mostly it is seen that the first preference people put as their home state, and then states adjacent to their home state, so that the proximity to their home is there. But that's again a very personal choice. It totally depends on how and where you want to work. So please take a call diligently based on your own thoughts. Don't get swayed by anybody who's saying that this state is better or that particular state is better. It all depends on time, circumstances, and what kind of officer you are, as I have already mentioned. But there are few things which I want to highlight, which are some factual things, and which many people get confused about. So first thing is about the home state. We have discussed a bit about the home state. Now it's clearly mentioned that if you want your home state, then you have to mention it as the first preference. If you don't mention it as your first preference, then you may not get it. So suppose if you are from Rajasthan and you mention Rajasthan at 3, then it will not be considered. If you want to keep Rajasthan, you have to keep it 1, or else it will not be considered. So just keep that thing in mind. Secondly, coming to zonal preference. Now from 2017 onwards, this new thing has come up about zonal cadre policy, and it's a bit confusing. So I just want to clear those things. So there are 5 zones, and then there are states. So there you have to give 2 preferences. One is your zonal preference, like zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in zone 1, you have cadres, Agmut, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Uttarakhand. In zone 2, you have Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Uttar Pradesh. In zone 3, you have Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. In zone 4, you have Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, and West Bengal. In zone 5, you have Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana. So there you have to give the zonal preference, that which zone you want to prefer from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And within the zones, you give preference for the cadres from 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 as the case may be. Now, how would the cadres be allocated? So firstly, your zone preference will be counted, and then state preference will be counted. And if your first preference of a particular state is not counted, then the zone will change. It's not like that you have mentioned zone 1 as your first preference, then all the states from 1 to 5 will be given as your preference. No, it will not be like that. Your first, suppose we say zone Z1 as zone 1 and state 1 as S1. So first preference will be counted as Z1 S1, zone 1, state 1. If your state is not available, then it will go to zone 2, and then it will check for your state 1 of zone 2. It will not go to state 2 of zone 1. So keep these things in mind. This is a way of distributing officers evenly across the country. So firstly, your first preference of zone 1, then first preference of zone 2, then first preference of zone 3, and similarly it will come second preference of zone 1. This is how the allocator will move. Now, coming to service preference, some technical things. Again, as I mentioned, your inclination is most important, but at the same time, if you fill IAS and IFS as your preference, IAS, Indian Administrative Service, and Indian Foreign Service, then, and if you get allocated those services, then you will not be allowed to appear again in the examination. Please keep this in mind. If you get Indian Foreign Service, then you won't be allowed to give the examination again. You have to resign from the service and appear in the exam as a fresh candidate. So keep that thing in mind before filling the preferences. Rest other services, even if you are if you get that services and you want to improve your rank, or if you want to get into some other service, then you are allowed to appear for the exam while you are in service, but not for IAS and IFS. Now, at the same time, there are many candidates, and I know so many people who prefer many other services other than IAS, like foreign service as their first preference, police service as their first preference, revenue service as their first preference. So it's good when you go to the interview to have a proper justification or a good reason why have you chosen a particular service. Again, they will not judge you based on your choice, but the kind of answer that you are going to give to justify or to give the reason why you have chosen a particular service, that will be judged. And suppose you have chosen foreign service, and they might ask you more questions on international relations, and if you are not able to answer those questions, or if you have chosen police service and you are not able to answer basic things about police, then it may not give a good impression to the panel. So when you are filling these service preferences, and if you feel that you have submitted something special, then please have a good understanding and a good justification for all your answers. So these are few things which all of us, while going for the interview, we should keep in mind. Apart from all these things, the most important thing is to be calm and composed. As we know that once we enter the service, there are going to be many challenges, and at a very young age, we are exposed to very big issues, and we are expected to deal with all those issues, and the whole machinery is looking up to us to solve those issues and take decisions. So in just 30 minutes, UPSC panel has to identify those qualities in all of us and give marks accordingly. So being calm, composed, and not panicking while answering the questions is very important. so that they know that this particular candidate will be able to handle such situations. Also, the answers that we give, no matter what part of DAF or any other current affairs or any other issue that they ask questions from, your answer should always be balanced, rational, and neutral. Because if you show your bias or your affiliation towards a particular section or a particular way of thought, then the idea of neutrality and being fair, just, and reasonable, the panel may doubt on those qualities. So just keep those things in mind. Your body language, your way of expressing your thought, and your way of analyzing the situations given to you are much more important than the facts that you mention in the interview. So from now onwards, your interview date will come closer. Just practice on all these lines and make sure that you have a good impression over the panel, so that right after 30 minutes, all of them, they agree that yes, you are the right candidate for this job, and you also do your best effort to show your personal as well as professional suitability to get that role that you have been aspiring for from quite some years. So with that, I'll conclude this session, and my best wishes to all of you, and all the very best, and prepare well. Don't be overconfident, and at the same time, don't be underconfident. Don't get nervous. Don't get anxious. You have come so far, and definitely with your hard work and the patience that you have shown till now, you will get the best of the efforts. So again, my best wishes, and thank you.